Some humble and terrifically meager considerations, but nonetheless, at least they give a minute directional sense about the matter on the doctrine of the how should this be called? We're talking about a doctrine concerning the infinite advancement, the doctrine of the infinite advancement with or without Faustian underbelly dragging behind it the shadow of our whole existence. Something is falling as the shadow of our existence, and its drag on us somehow defines us. Okay, so the idea is this. If one can see any cogent challenge to a notion as something which rationally or essentially to the most intelligent human being, if they are self-respecting, must respond to, if any argument which is sufficiently cogent that the intelligent being must respond to it, is sufficient to set us off on a path, are the repercussions so great, so variegated, so scattering, that it eventually leads into something beyond. So, for example, the sophistication of a Nietzsche. We must posit that there's beings that, after honing into this line of thinking, advance, and as in every human pursuit, say chess, there's a few human beings out of the billions that are better than all the rest by an order of magnitude somehow, so that you get only 10 people that seem really serious in chess, and then you have the rest of the world. But it's almost the same with every pursuit. So supposing that as the billions turn into trillions, then you would suddenly get people that are able to hold within themselves the texture of ideas n degrees beyond a Nietzsche, beyond a Heidegger in the depth of soul of the vision, but beyond the Nietzsche in the Nietzsche is the most. Let me give an amusing metaphor to this, much along the line of Heraclitus' amusing thought about if the smoke were the only thing the nose would be the essential sense. As we can use humor and serious thought in fundamental, in originary thought, passionary thought. Plato himself had a cloven hoof in that respect, as he said, "Don't be a funny man. Don't apply to be like the youth. Don't worry what the young people think of you." But at the same time, he's told many jokes. But let's say it's this is. Well, let's forget about the humor. Let's just say this this idea of the n degrees beyond a Nietzsche must somehow seem cogent. And we can posit this in many directions. But supposing this were analogized with the problem of face blindness. So it's really shocking to me, actually. The shock, shell, and cannon blow of the sort of realizing this thing and then being sympathetic towards it and how vast it is. These people that have face blindness and they don't know it, apparently. So there's a Wall Street Journal article about this, and about in midlife, several people, there's just in the article, there's two people talking. The others must have a great many people. They come to realize that they're face blind. Color blindness, by contrast, I think I can understand directly, because I think like think of the moment after the orb of the sun has gone under the horizon. It start to get darkening. You get different spectrum of colors. Think of the spectrum of colors right after a rain is breaking, with the ground soaked, so the colors are slightly different. You can see how somehow that's directly accessible, what it would mean to be colorblind. But face blindness is very hard to conceive of, and it seems a very great difference. In the same way, just make a metaphor and think of this, what I just said, the intelligence beyond the, the funny thought I was going to interject there is the three-dimensional chessboard is sort of a ridiculous thing, but Nietzsche has n dimensions, and it's not chess but Go. Let's say if Go is more somehow laudatory in these days of praising the Far East, he's playing Go on the n-dimensional board. This kind of manner of moving into cogency through saying it's like this, it's like this, it's like this, it's like this, is somehow, I don't see how it can possibly be escaped. So then tie this to the thought that there always must be someone who says this makes sense, this doesn't make sense, and always must be an individual. And then all that groups are is that you have a large number of people. It might only be 40% of the population, it might be 30%, but they all solidly stand in the saying this is what makes sense, and they're in a adamantine sort of stone opinion where they can't even question it because it's the same as objective reality itself for them. But that's just each one of those parts of the Matterhorn there, of this stone that can't be, the sharp stone that can't be moved. They're still individuals who simply are in that position of holding that thing's the case. Thinking from within this kind of sense of the textures, the sort of mountains of the Incas, their agriculture on different little levels, different colors going up and down. At this level, now interject Heidegger's attempt to claim that we don't have to stay with the grammatical structure of predication, so that being can be something that speaks not of reality is like this, reality is good, reality is nihilistic, etc., but being can speak in a unified way. Now we're struck with this problem, which I think is the problem Nietzsche is charging Heidegger of. No matter how much cogency we get through saying this is phenomenologically what you get if you just look at it straight on instead of try to reason about it or something, or through different manners of trying to make our argument more cogent. This is more realist. This is what people experience in daily life. It's not what the armchair philosopher would say, blah, blah, blah. Whatever the latest fashionable thing is, which is cogent with a certain group, how can we... why isn't Heidegger just the fashion, you see? Ultimately, no matter how much he takes us to the question of being, is he actually outstripping that whirling dervish who is trying to hold open this glistening, blinding surface of tinfoil in the oven, possibly smoking a crack pipe? How is it supposed to go beyond anything which is, as he says, ontic? So Heidegger, in this claim to outstrip the old contrast, which is broken down utterly between sky and earth, or between the intelligence, realm of the intelligence, and the realm of history or daily experience, and to replace it with the distinction between the ontic and the ontological. ontological itself could be susceptible of saying that's an ontic notion. The same way being can be susceptible of saying that's an ontic notion, just as Heidegger is saying truth, or if not truth, but the good in the Christian sense of this claim that the Catholicism has gone awry through the ontotheological error, which is to think of God as something that has a predicate structure on top of it that says God is good, God is just, God is this, God is that. This is supposed to be ontotheological original sin, but whatever you do, if you're neutral about it, you can't, how would you, but I don't want to just say if you're neutral about it, any way you come at it, I don't see how you're going to avoid this Nietzschean claim that Heidegger is just another one of these same claims. That being said, we're cast into the open air because we have no direction on, but nonetheless, why wouldn't we still choose Heidegger? What's supposed to be, the other ways are just as much to be discredited on the same claim that they're just one way, not amongst others. So I just wanted, this is just a sort of expressionistic path up into such considerations as, oh, I don't know, for instance, there could be a certain mood out of which it always seems that the Trinity makes sense somehow, that there's a body, there's something we're being called towards, and then there's a communication, breathing back and forth between them or something. It's a very wide-ranging sphere of a sense of how cogency is happening in the human being, which I would say one could set always again against the sense that objectivity is something that has to be decided by one subjectivity. That then gets concealed because there's 20 subjectivities that agree, so that even if a few of them were to die or whatever, the agreement would still seem to be there in the world. And this account